you, honestly, because I don't think you've gotten the support you need from your board. That's just my opinion. I think you're on your own. You're out here carrying the, towing the ship, and I don't think it's fair because you're not getting the right pushback that you need, I think, to help keep in a direction. And this extended learning spaces is a very key question because it is taking up space and it costs money. And if we don't know what that's going to actually look like on an hour by hour, period by period basis, that should be a red flag right there. These are all fancy words. I've lived through them many times, like, what's this? The experience, an environment where teaching, learning can evolve. Come on, even back in my day in the 50s, 60s, we evolved through learning. I mean, this is a fluff word. Each pod is built for collaboration, adaptability, security.
Again, if you were to been on some of these trips and see what happens like in New Albany, which is a high-functioning and high-performing school district, they are using this space for a variety of things. It's a lot of, they have small groups that go out there, they have extended space for that. They call it their front porch, actually. That extends their learning area and environment for them. They use a lot of that area for that. They use it a lot for group meetings. They use a lot of
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that they're using it, but here's the key
yes.
question in education. What has New Albany compiled in terms of statistical and data that correlates the positive improvements or results as a result of this type of student-centered large space learning environments? Where is the data? It's a fundamental question in business, it's a fundamental question in education. Do they have data on it?
Well, I'm looking at their results, and I like to be more like them. And I like to be more collaborative. I like to have more community in there. So those are the things that we're looking to build. Now, this plan's going forward. It's going to the board in April 22nd. That's where it'll happen, and we're going to move forward.
The reason I made and then I'll be quiet because I know other people want the floor. The reason I made the comment about I don't think you should shoulder this in the board, because had I been on the board, I would have said to you, Mr. Moran, we spent considerable time in 2023. We presented the 2-story barbell plan to the Board of Education. We talked about that 2-story barbell plan in terms of storm sheltering, and as a result of having Garmin Miller telling us, and by the way, that's large, older grades at one end, smaller grades at the other end. And yes, and we talked about the fact that with that 2-story, without a storm shelter, we'll move them from the 2nd story to the 1st story, harden the ceiling above, and they have a good chance. They have a good chance of survival. As a result of that information, based on that particular plan and those conversations related to that particular plan, I'm one of those people who voted no intent for the storm shelter. It passed with a majority vote. Then we had the Moving Tipp Forward committee that presented that same plan. Then we had your district presenting that plan in the winter of 2024, the news communication. And now the plan is no longer there. It's this whole new plan. Can you understand the feelings of lack of, what is it, having integrity?
The plan was never said this is the plan. It was always a conceptual plan, and that was always been
conceptual. And I did the research on that with architects. Conceptual site plans precede specific design plans. You start somewhere. It helps give you, and that plan that was circulated to the community never had a disclaimer or a disclosure at the bottom that it wasn't going to be the plan. It is reasonable for every person who saw that plan to have in their mind that was going to be the plan moving forward for the community. It was a reasonable, logical assumption.
Okay.
I'm done.
So I have taken every opportunity. I was involved before when we were designing things, and hearing your assertiveness about this will be voted on and this is what we're going to do. I think probably we should remove the slide that says collaboration, because what the statement says is this is it. that is not collaboration. When you have concerns about safety, I specifically have a concern about safety with my daughter. And looking at these plans, I'm assuming that these rails by the door mean that you're gonna have garage doors there.
That's right now, as you see in the schematic design drawings, that's something that has been considered. Again, the schematic design is not everything. There's still a lot to be flushed out, like what goes in the classrooms,
It
those
would
types of
probably
things.
be easier for you to just say, yes, Aaron Moran wants garage doors, we're gonna have garage doors.
Well,
Just like
I'm open
Aaron,
to- I'm
I
open to
don't see
garage
where you're
doors.
open to anything. I have come to all these meetings, I've
Yeah.
shared with you multiple times my concerns.
Yeah.
And hearing again, you say, this is what's happening, this is what's going through, this is what we're voting on, knowing, I don't know where we're gonna put all of the students in 3 stories on a tornado day, knowing that they have to be away from doors and windows, knowing that if you have garage door rails right here, I'm assuming you're putting in garage doors. All this moving furniture is on wheels. Where are you going to put my daughter? Where will she be safe?
Again, all this stuff has to go through code, just like every classroom, as you know, has a fire escape and a tornado shelter.
And no, Aaron,
And that's all gonna be part of that, and that's
just look
all
at
part of
this,
the code.
point to
that
where
goes in
my
there.
daughter is going to be safe in adverse weather
On the
conditions.
first floor.
Because right here, you said that safety is your #1 concern. Where is my daughter going to be safe? Where are students like my daughter that need somebody to hold her by the hand and take her there? Where is she going to be safe? Where are we going to put students from the 2nd and 3rd floor that are in devices for wheelchairs, whatever? Who is going to get them here and they're going to be safe? Or is that the cost of business? Are you going to put this plan in front of that board and make them vote no on tornado hardening? No, you're not going to do that.
We
You're not
already
going to do
voted
that
on
because
it.
that's a political move.
I don't
We already
actually
voted
want
on
you
it,
to-
Corinne.
Because you already voted
We
no on
already
a
voted
plan
on
that
it.
you said is conceptual. So you asked them to make a conceptual vote on safety?
Well,
On your
as you
#1
recall,
concern?
There is nobody's going to put their time and effort into millions of dollars to develop a plan prior to a bond passing. That doesn't happen. I think the school district did it in the past, and it didn't pass, and it was money that went aside.
Wait a minute,
So-
we already did that. We put into we put a conceptual site plan together
No,
before
not,
the
I'm
vote.
talking about the actual plans where the tornadoes, because actually in the tornado shelters, if you recall, they harden the gym. That's what they do. They harden the gym. They don't harden those things. They actually harden the gym
No,
is the,
no, one
is
second,
what that
one
is.
second. Mr. Moran, I kind of know this topic.
Yes,
And credibility is everything to me. I think you know that. Hardening a gym to
Yeah.
become a storm shelter
yes,
is a very different concept, requiring a whole different level of expenditure, certification,
yes.
recertifications.
Which is what OFCC, when it was brought up, that's what OFCC
Yes,
voted on.
and we
That's all I'm
decided
saying.
not to harden that
Correct.
gymnasium, whether
That
it's
was-
this plan
correct.
or the 2-story plan.
Correct.
But what we did decide is to talk about mitigating, not having that hardened gym, but mitigating by putting the hardened first floor ceiling with extra concrete, according to the Garmin Miller guy. But that was based on a pod down at this end of the building and a pod down at that end of the building. So you move 2nd floor, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the first floor, 5, 6, 7, 8 down at that end. You had space to contain those kids and staff. Let's not forget the staff. What will be there? About 100 people there, maybe? Altogether, workers, staffage. Okay, so we've got not only the kids, but we've got the staff.
Mhm.
That is dramatically different than taking 1 story. You can't put them around the gym. That's a death trap. You can't put them even near that. Putting them on the first floor like this, where are you going to put 1,600, 1,700, 1,800, or 1,900 people? Seriously.
Again.
And by the way, 5 5 square feet per person according to the Garmin rep.
For the storm shelter certification piece.
Well, even like, hardening the ceiling and, you gotta roughly, he said a rule of thumb, about 5 square feet per person.
So all this will meet code, all this will meet OFCC requirements, just like every other OFCC building.
Oh, no, 1 second, let's not compute, 1 second. I'm not disputing it might meet certain OFCC
Yeah.
design manual codes.
Yeah, in Miami County building codes. and
In
all that
Miami,
stuff.
I'm not disputing
Yeah.
that one single bit. What I'm saying is the storm shelter is in a separate bubble on its own. It's a standalone. And that standalone has been addressed by the board in 2023. They signed the form, the intent not to have the storm shelter based on that 2-story plan, that barbell plan. Are you gonna put it to another vote based on this plan? You see, we voted on that plan that was presented to us. Is it going to come up to a vote again? Are the board members gonna say, based on this current 3-story plan, do we have the intent or not for a storm shelter?
No, OFCC already has that done at this time.
Based on the original plan. Do you not see the disparity here?
Do you not see that as an honesty or an integrity issue for our community?
No,
That they voted no on a 2-story plan versus a 3-story plan?
A 2-story plan that can house that number of people. That's an important addition to what we're saying. A 2-story plan, Corinne, barbell down here, barbell there, that can house, you bring the 2nd story down, put them here, you bring the 2nd story down, you put them here, it can house them. We haven't had any discussions on 2 stories in this little section, how it can be housed.
Did you, during your visits, did you take any of your staff to a 3-story building?
we did not. We talked about going to one certain place and it was recommended not to go there because it's very boring, it's not worth, it's halls and walls. And that's what, I'm not looking to build a Broadway 2.0. I don't think
Are
that's.
you
I
looking
don't
to
think
build
that is-
something with your community?
Yes. We've been, that's
Okay,
where we've had.
and I realize that I'm not the voice that you're willing to hear. I know that, it is what it is, but I also, for my own integrity, I am not willing to not speak now and be a fly in the ointment with criticism later.
That's
So,
fine.
I know that you personally don't like halls and walls. There is no research that says any of this trendy stuff is going to help any student learn. In fact, and I talked about this at the board meeting, the research would indicate otherwise, that the trendy collaborative spaces do not at all contribute in a positive effect to student learning. So even though you might not like halls and walls, the collaborative spaces don't have any indication that they contribute to positive learning. What New Albany built was based on a lot of work New Albany did before that with their staff and with their development and with their community and with their students, so that when they had that environment, that those teachers, those staff, those students, that community knew what they were going to do with it. You might have a vision of what's going to happen, but if we as a community, as your parents, as your teachers, your staff, if we don't have an idea and you can't verbalize one other than New Albany did it and I want to be like New Albany, that doesn't mean anything to me as a parent or as an educator. I want to know what that is going to mean for my child, where they're going to go to be safe. When I see garage doors, another trendy thing, and I'm thinking of another $1 million 5 years down the road to wall them up, just like we did at LT Ball, because that was a trend that we learned very quickly doesn't work for kids.
Right.
And that was based on flexible learning and being able to be open and being able to be collaborative. And none of that is based in really specific academic goals that we can chart. A, B, C, D. This step led to this step led to this step.